Welcome back to Prime Your Day, Prime Your Life. And today we're going to be talking all about LinkedIn and leveraging LinkedIn to create sales leads for you. How does that work for you? Well, today we've got a real master at this today, a gentleman called Alan Ruddock, who runs Linked Business. And he generates sales and leads by being authentic on LinkedIn. None of those kind of connection requests that then take you by the short and curlies and think, oh, I've been hooked, but really genuine engagement. Alan, great to see you today. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Chris. Yeah, it's good to hear that you get those sort of connection requests as well. I absolutely hate them where you get the sales pitch in the actual connection invitation. I had one the other day. It just drives me nuts.
And you kind of hover over thinking, well, this looks really good. And then you think, is it really good because they are really good, or are they just going to, and then, you know, boom, you get that. By the way, would you like to join on for 30 minutes? No, I wouldn't, actually. I know nothing about you.
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
Let's not go too much down a rabbit hole rant straight off. We're here to talk about LinkedIn, Alan, and I know that you spend so much time on this, and I really value the content that you put out. But if you're just starting, or you just know that you're missing out on something, where would you suggest people started, or where would you suggest they might be going wrong on LinkedIn?
Well, the most common thing I see going wrong with business owners on LinkedIn is their profiles still look like a corporate CV. You know, they used to be in the corporate world. They're in job hunting mode, and their profile is set up to get themselves the next job. Well, once you become a business owner, that's not what you want to do. You want to actually promote your business and find and engage with your prospects. So you got to turn it around from being all about you as a person and you as an employee to being about what you can do for your prospects in your business. And that's where they often go wrong.
Yeah.
So if you want to get started, give your profile that once over so that you make a really great first impression on LinkedIn. When somebody goes to your page, whether it's on mobile or desktop, they see stuff that's relevant to them, that you can do for them. That's the really important thing for them to do.
And I always talk about, you know, what's the result that you give people? And if you were to look at your own LinkedIn profile, when would you have got bored with it? And that's the clues to when to stop.
Yeah, I always say you need to answer 3 questions when people land on your profile. Who is this for? Who should connect with me? What do I do for them? And why should they care? The same applies to your website, but on LinkedIn, it's even more critical.
Okay. So with that in mind, what would you say, let's just say 3 pieces of homework right away on your profile page that people can get stuck in with as a result of watching this and finishing listening?
Right. My top 3 there would be, firstly, images. When people land on your profile, they're immediately drawn to your photo and the background image. If you're not making good use of that real estate, you're missing a trick completely. The number of times I've seen people, I had one client, his profile picture was of him in Lycra with his cycle helmet on, sunglasses. You just couldn't tell who it was unless you knew who he was and who he raised money for doing his charity cycle rides. You wouldn't have known who he was. And he was trying to get into large corporates to get them to buy local print. Yeah, it's the wrong impression. You've got to have a picture of you that it doesn't have to be starchly professional, but it needs to be how you're going to turn up when you meet that person in real life or on Zoom. Okay. So that's the first thing. And then the background image, it's a great deal of real estate there. If you don't use it effectively, you're wasting it. So it needs to convey what you do, have some words about your business, maybe your contact number. It's different for each person, but don't waste that real estate. It's really, really important. The next thing people will do is then look down beneath your photograph and see your headline. And the biggest mistake I find people make is that they don't put in a tailored headline. And if you don't do that, LinkedIn picks up your job title from your most recent experience. And so you often see CEO of, or owner of, or whatever. What a waste. You've got 240 characters there, and you can actually answer those 3 questions that I posed earlier in that tagline.
Yeah.
So, you know, take a look at some people that are really using LinkedIn well and look at their taglines there, and you could get real traction from having the right sort of headline.
Yeah, I love that piece of advice. It's not finding out the answers for yourself. Just be curious and see who else is doing it well and how do their headlines come across.
Yeah, and as you say, be curious. Ask the question. Ask yourself the question: Would I like to connect with this person, and why would I like to connect with them? And if that tagline is answering those questions, that's the sort of thing you want to achieve.
Okay, so I've kind of done my profile. I've done a bit of spring cleaning on that, and then I'm thinking I now need to start visiting the platform more often. And I've got this dilemma between post or engagement or both. Where would you advocate starting first if we're wanting to increase our dwell time or increase our leads generation from LinkedIn? Posts or engagement?
I think you have to start with posts. And the reason for that is your LinkedIn profile is talking about you and what you can do for other people. And if you don't put some good quality posts out there with good, valuable advice on it, then people are going to think, well, you don't really actually take the platform seriously. And it's a great way of drip feeding information to your prospects, keeping front of their mind. So if you're connected with loads of prospects and you're continuously dripping in good posts, you're reminding them that you're there and you're doing stuff. And when, you know, we all know that 95% of the people you market to are not ready to buy at that time. But if you're constantly dripping stuff to them that's of value, when they are ready to buy, you're the person that is front of their mind to do that. So posts are where you should start. And then once you get some posts out there, you can start engagement. Because when you start engaging with people, the chances are they're going to go look at your profile. And if you haven't got any posts there, they're going to think, oh, that's a bit thin. So that's why I say post first, then start the engagement.
All right. And I'm interested, you do lots of different styles of posts, some carousels, some PDFs, some pictures. How do you start to create the thematic of what you want to post about? Have you got a sort of a Dropbox or an Evernote, or does it just come to you on a walk one morning to think, I've got it. I'm going to talk about that. How does it come up, this idea generation?
Yeah, it can be pretty random. Sometimes I'll have a theme. So for example, I'm building up towards an expo at the end of the month. So, and I'm relaunching my online program and in my online coaching sessions to go with that. So at the moment, I've got a series of posts that I'm putting out that are nudging people towards that expo and the online course. But at other times, it's a case of a great idea has come up. And as you say, it might be out on a walk. I put a post out a few days ago about looking at your customer journey from the customer's eyes. I'd been out for a walk. I did the walk in reverse direction. And I got to one point and suddenly I thought, well, when I'm up there, I know I want to go in this direction. So why isn't the person coming straight at me? Because it's the right way. But when I walked from the other direction, I could see there were 3 paths. And I was a little unsure which path I should be taking. And, you know, if you don't do that, sort of walk your journey from the customer's perspective, you'll miss all sorts of things in your business that the customer's seeing that you're not. Yeah. And so that idea came up. I took a couple of photos, quick note on OneNote. I use OneNote. I've got all my post ideas on OneNote. And then I moved them into various buckets as to what type of post they are, whether it's Monday marketing or Tuesday company page, whatever. And yeah, so I just did the notes, got the photos, bang.
Well, it sounds all very sort of, you know, ad hoc, but what I'm detecting here is there's a very clear system here associated with the fact that you've committed to produce a certain frequency of posts in a week, and then you've got a system to make sure that the content, when it comes, that moment of creativity is then captured and then not lost, so that you can then explore the post. How long does it take you roughly to take that idea and then produce the post and then put it out on the platform? Just, is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes? What's the...
It can vary depending on the message and the images that I want to use with the message. If I'm going to end up doing a carousel post, it'll take me quite a bit longer because I'll create anything from 4 to 10 slides to go with a carousel post. And that could take up to an hour to create the post.
Okay, just a quick point of reference, just in case anyone doesn't know what a carousel post is, can you just briefly tell us what a carousel post is, just in case anybody's thinking, what?
Yeah, sure. So a carousel post is where you have a series of images or pages in a document that you want to show on LinkedIn, and people can click through one page after the other. Now you can create them in with images, or you can create them using Word or a PDF, anything like that. When you upload them, LinkedIn automatically converts it to a PDF, and people can download that PDF as well. And you get really increased dwell time on the system, because if it's done well, people will click through each of the pages. And the way to do that is to have an image and a few words that explain the image or make the relevance clear, so that people want to click through. That increases your dwell time, that gets it shown to more people. So it's a win-win-win situation.
Okay. And if we have only certain hours in the day, what would you say is the minimum time that we should spend engaging on the platform, whether it be producing posts or then engaging in messaging or commenting on other people's posts? What's your recommendation there if you're working with a client?
Yeah, if you're time constrained, you need to put out at least one post a week and make it a good quality post. So I'd say you're probably going to spend up to an hour creating the content around that post, the images or the carousel and the wording to go with it. Much better to do that than try and bang out 5 fairly flaky posts, one each day. But one quality post regularly posted, same time, same day, every week, will actually start to build you a following. And then on the engagement side, once you're into the engagement, obviously if you put a post out, you need to follow up with that post immediately afterwards for the next hour or so, because every comment that's made needs to be responded to. And if you do that within the first hour or so, it increases the reach through the algorithm much better. But thereafter, for the rest of the week, I would say 10 to 15 minutes once or twice a day, where you go look at the people you're following or people you want to engage with, look at their content, engage with it, and respond to people that are engaging with you or asking new questions. Just 1 or 2 sessions a day, 10 or 15 minutes, block them out in your diary, and make sure you make that a habit. And I know you're really big on habits, Chris, but that's a really important habit. If you want to get LinkedIn working for you, you have to create that engagement habit.
Okay. And over the last 12 months, I know Microsoft, who own LinkedIn, have got a big aspiration of maybe getting 3 billion adopted users. There's been quite a lot going on with stories coming on and off. Before I steal your thunder, what are you seeing as the major things that have been good in the last 12 months, and also maybe some that you've not been quite so much of a raving fan about?
There's so much we could talk about here. It's great that Microsoft are driving LinkedIn and they're making changes, but sometimes it gets really frustrating because of the number of changes they're making. So the bad thing is they don't actually communicate those changes that well. So you find out things by the back door. So for example, I found I'd heard about being able to put links into your about section. And I kept looking at my about section and I couldn't put links in there, thinking, why am I being singled out? But LinkedIn does roll things out slowly sometimes. I think, God, they're really taking ages on this. Then I twigged that actually you can only edit your about section on the mobile if you want to put links in it. And what's more, it's only visible. The links are only visible and workable on the mobile. So you can go to your mobile, edit your about section, add in a link. It'll be clickable on the mobile, but you go to the desktop and it's not clickable. Really, really frustrating. So that's the sort of thing that with LinkedIn that really bugs me. It's really irritating. LinkedIn Live is another one of those, conundrum products. It's great that you could go live on your profile and or on your company page, but the faff to actually set it up and do it, unless you've already got a streaming service, is a real pain. You can link Zoom to it, but it's a real faff to actually go through the steps. You go to Facebook, you can just click go live and you're on. Can't do that on LinkedIn. It's a lot more of a faff to do LinkedIn Live. So if they could sort those sorts of things out, that would be brilliant. Okay. On the really positive side, company pages are getting a lot more traction, a lot more value. LinkedIn seems to have really decided that small businesses can benefit from company pages at last, and they're putting a lot more effort into delivering real value on there. So really important space to watch, and it's going to be really good for you.
What about newsletters? I've certainly been hit with quite a few. Subscribe to my newsletter, join my newsletter. Good, bad? What's your views?
I like newsletters because the people that subscribe tend to be people that are interested in what you're talking about. And that means you'll get much more direct engagement with those people, because when you put a post out or you create an ordinary article on LinkedIn, only a very small proportion of your connections or followers will actually see that in their notifications or get a notification of it, see it in their newsfeed. If you've got a newsletter and people are subscribed to that newsletter, every single subscriber gets a notification about the newsletter, and every single subscriber gets an email about the newsletter. So it gets in front of more eyeballs, and the open rate and the read rate of my newsletter, I started mine at the beginning of the year. I'm up to nearly 600 subscribers with practically no effort. And I'm getting an open rate of in excess of 50%, which is much better than any email newsletter open rate I've ever had.
Yeah,
so I'm a real big fan. I think it's a really good feature.
Yeah, and the thing I talk about a lot with clients is that the LinkedIn interface is a direct communication tool from you to the recipient. There's no gatekeeper, there's no voicemail, there's no board, there's no switchboard operator stopping you from the engagement. So as long as your value that you're putting across is good, then you've got a really good chance of carrying on that conversation. Just a point about your posting, people talk about whether or not you should be engaging on the platform before you hit post, because apparently LinkedIn likes you to be around for sort of 10 minutes before you post, and it helps the algorithm. Fact or fiction? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of fiction. The algorithm kicks in when you post. Yes, your engagement gets you brownie points in the algorithm, but the key is when you post, who else responds to your post? Because it will put out your post to a selection of your followers, your connections, and if they start engaging with it quickly, that gets it the added traction. So it's mostly that side of things.
All right, I guess we're coming to the real sizzle in the sandwich now, which is the bit that the holy grail of LinkedIn is getting more eyeballs on your post, whether it be views, impressions, comments. So what's the trick here, Alan? How do you create because there must be a system. You think, right, I'm going to put a post out and then I want more traction from it. What are some of your little hacks here that you're going to let us into the secret on, is getting more eyeballs on your posts?
Right. The real key here is that what you put out there is of use or interest, and it's relevant to your target market. Because if your content you create is just faff, really, nobody's going to really engage with it. Yeah, people get viral posts and say, "Oh, great! I've had a viral post. I've got tens of thousands of views of my post." But it's usually about something either topical on the day that's not relevant to their business, or they've managed to hit the right spot with a meme of their cat bouncing off a wall or something like that. The views that they're getting are not valuable views. I would much rather get my post out to 1,000 people that are really interested in my stuff than 50,000 that have just seen it because it seems to be a nice post. That isn't going to get you anywhere. And in fact, I posted today on my company page. I had an email from one of my clients yesterday to say that she'd been contacted by somebody completely out of the blue for some tax advice. She gives advice to people that work overseas. And she'd been contacted out of the blue, and she asked this person, "Where did you get my name from?" And they told her. She looked up that connection. They'd been a connection for about 8 years. She emailed to say thank you, and the person came back and said, "Oh, I've been reading your posts on LinkedIn for ages, and when this guy came in for help, you were the obvious person to put him into." So 8 years, I think it was, that they'd been connected, and she'd been reading the posts, but when the time was right, the lead came in. So it's about actually making sure your content is valuable. You can increase the dwell time with the carousel posts because that really does work. It requires a bit more effort, but if you're relevant and interesting and useful to your contacts, that's the real key.
Yeah. one of my key takeaways for a lot of clients is to say, make sure there's a call to action. So ask people a question as to what you would like them to do with the post. And simply by being a little bit more instructional, it actually makes them respond because you've asked them to do so. And it's just about thinking, how can I get this person to engage, spike their curiosity, make them a little bit interested or intrigued, so that there then is some genuine engagement, not just great post, Alan, because that doesn't help anybody, but something that's actually insightful.
It actually gets you a bad mark in the algorithm.
Is it really? Okay.
Oh yeah, the algorithms always look at discounts those, and if you've got too many discounted comments, then your standing in the algorithm goes down. So it's really important not to do that sort of thing.
Okay, final myth buster is huge bucket full of loads and loads of contacts, or small, nicely fertile compost bin of a select number of people that you think are really interested in your content. What's your view?
Oh, definitely the latter.
Okay.
Yeah, I always go for quality over quantity. I'd much rather have, say, 500 or 1,000 people viewing my post than 50,000 viewing it that are not really interested in what I do. And your company page can be a really good way, and a company page newsletter can be a really good way of sifting out the good contacts, the real prospects from your connections. I mean, I don't know about you, Chris, but from my perspective, I had years in the corporate world. I did a lot of work in property. So I got sort of connections that are all based around my old project and program management days, connections that are based around the property businesses that I ran. And then I've got my connections that are based around my LinkedIn coaching and business coaching. Now, that last bucket are the ones that I'm encouraging to come to my company page and come to my newsletter. And those that do, they're the ones that are much more interested in what I do and how I do it. So it's a way of distilling down and getting that really rich compost-like area for growth.
Yeah. And you never know, all of your past connections where you had that great rapport with, everybody changes and they suddenly could become a business owner that now they're going, do you know what, Alan, I've been watching you for 15 years. I'm now the same as you. Please help me become the guru of my own LinkedIn avatar.
Absolutely. And that's why I say to people, never break a connection just because they're in your past. You never know what they might be changing to. You never know who they might know that might need your services. Yeah. So don't get rid of old connections unless you're starting to hit the connection limit, which most of us never get anywhere near. It's up at 30,000 connections, I think, these days. Might even be more than that now. So unless you're getting to that limit and you can't get people to connect with you, don't worry about it.
Alan, I'm going to give you a bit of a curveball here, and I've not given you this before. So while we get you to think about your 3 must-do manifesto aspects of LinkedIn to leave us with, I'm just going to share your contact details so people can engage with you. Alan does loads and loads of programs out there. He does challenges. He does lots of value. Some of his posts are hugely insightful. So for those listening on the pod, then it's Alan Ruddock, which is A-L-L-E-N, and then Ruddock with 2 Ds. His LinkedIn business is his company, and you'll find his email, alan@linkedbusiness.co.uk. And if you just search Alan Ruddock on LinkedIn, you will find him. So just while everybody takes that down, Alan, are you ready then for this little curveball? Your 3 must-do manifesto items around LinkedIn to enable it to create some engagement, which could lead to potential clients.
Yep. Number 1, create that really great, powerful first impression so that when people land on your profile, they're immediately drawn to you. Number 2, be consistent. No use showing up 1 week and then disappearing for 3 weeks and then coming back again. I always describe LinkedIn as a bit of a sponge. And when you put water in the top of a sponge, nothing comes out the bottom to start with. But if you keep putting water in, you'll start getting the leads coming out the bottom. If you stop putting water in, it'll dries out. So be consistent. And then number 3 is you've really got to be mindful of your target market. So know your target market on LinkedIn. It might be different to your target markets on other platforms and other areas. Know your target market and then make sure that your content and engagement is interesting, useful, and importantly, relevant to that target market.
Okay. So make a great first impression, be consistent, and always deliver to the needs of your target market. I love those 3 must-do manifestos. Alan, how could we help you today? If you had a little crystal ball in front of you and it was 6 months' time, what would you like people to do as a result of listening or watching this today for you, Alan?
Well, I'd like my goal with running my business is to help small businesses leverage LinkedIn for their business to give them a much more level playing field compared with bigger businesses. So, I'm looking to help as many people as possible. I'm launching my new online program. It's completely revamped and covers all of the aspects I've talked about here today. And that's getting relaunched at the end of this month. And then I'm going to, in association with that, I'm going to run group and one-to-one coaching sessions. So if anyone is interested in anything like that and want to really leverage LinkedIn and find out how they can do it, get in touch. Let's book a one-to-one and have a chat and see how I can help you.
Brilliant. Well, I know you're always there offering that helping hand. And I'm sure that if you're working one-on-one with Alan, you're definitely going to get pulled along and also given a little bit of helping hand. He's also got a lot of other things that happens in his daytime job. Do you want to just talk about some of the things that you do to really bring more benefit to the world? Alan, I'm putting you on the spot here, but you do some good work with a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm a great believer in looking after my clients. So I used to run a business support group pre-COVID. It's in hibernation now, and I don't have the time to revitalize it. But part of the things I did for that support group was I made sure I was first aid trained, so if anyone slipped over, I could help them. But I also took mental health first aid training. I did a 2-day mental health first aid training course so that I could actually demonstrate to my clients that I'm there for them in all aspects of running their business. Because as you know, Chris, being a solo entrepreneur or being a small business owner can be a really challenging environment, and it can really stress you out. So I've had many conversations with my clients about their mental health and that sort of stuff. And I take that one step further. I actually work with a couple of local charities. I volunteer for something for a charity called Oakleaf Enterprise, which help people suffering from mental ill health and get them into the workplace. And then I'm also a volunteer with the local Samaritans, where I'm Deputy Director for External Relations and Outreach. So those are really, really big passions for me. And just to give your other side a plug, I know you started this midlife mindset group on Facebook. I think that sort of initiative is really, really important, and especially for small business owners, because you need somewhere that you can feel safe to talk about the challenges you're facing. And us men are not good at doing that at times. And, suicide is highest amongst men in the 45 plus age bracket. And that's because we don't talk. And it was a friend of mine committing suicide many years ago that left in the back of my mind the need to do something about that. And that's why I became a Samaritan. Okay.
Well, if nothing else from today, if you've enjoyed your LinkedIn and then you've left feeling a little bit thoughtful or just mindful, what's the Samaritan's number that you could ring in case anybody's got that? It's a really easy number.
It's 116-123. It's free from every landline and any UK mobile, and there'll always be a Samaritan there willing to take your call. We're open 24/7, 365 days of the year.
Okay, 116-123, a number never to forget. But today it's all been about LinkedIn. And Alan, I just want to appreciate you for giving you some our time and some really, really insightful tips here as to how to make LinkedIn work as a system for you. It's part of what I say every day. It's find, convert, keep clients like a habit. And it has to be something that you adopt as a principle that is nailed into your working week as a system. And you can't just kind of go at it willy-nilly. Is that a right phraseology? Anyway, I've said it now. There we go.
Could I give one final tip, Chris?
Yes.
And I don't mean this to sound as if I'm playing back to you, but LinkedIn is great for generating leads. One of the big pieces of advice I give my clients when I'm talking to them is understand when the time is right, when the person is ready to potentially buy from you, and then take that conversation offline. Either onto when I say offline, I mean off LinkedIn. Take it into a phone call, take it into a Zoom meeting, because that's where you will make the sale. And that's where your skill set really kicks in, and you can help people increase the conversion rate from those LinkedIn leads to make actual sales.
Yeah. I've got two things that I talk about. One is the racetrack, and the second one, I'm going to just hold him up here, is my porcupine.
Hey.
The porcupine has a very good way of preventing. That's the female porcupine, by the way. And she, she's not ready. She's not ready to do the business until she put the quills down. And you've got to work hard. Got to, touch her face and get to know her quite well and snuggle up to her a little bit. And only when she's ready, will she put the quills down. And so many times in sales, we're just going straight for the connection, straight for the pitch, and actually still got our quills up. We're not ready to have even a cup of tea, let alone, go upstairs to the third floor. So,
and that's so true on LinkedIn too. The number of connection requests I get, which you've got a sales pitch actually in the connection request, or you accept a connection request and immediately get hit with a sales pitch email. It's exactly that analogy. Exactly that.
Yeah. Well, that's the story for another day. But today, Alan, it's all about you. I really appreciate your time again. And remember, find, convert, keep clients like a habit. Use LinkedIn. It's a sublime platform for leveraging your LinkedIn connections and engagement with people that will begin to really love and enjoy your message. Alan, thank you so much.
That's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Chris.